to follow rules. They're already surveying south of 72, I've seen it myself. So you gotta make sure that every dot on every I is dotted and every T is crossed. They are professional marketers. This is our first time, and hopefully our last. And they're good. They're paid to do this stuff. And that's all I wanna say.
She probably should have just stopped with her.
Unfortunately, our governor is paying them well to do this, so.
That's our next
We're fighting,
tackle.
we're fighting him, guys. I mean, we just bought a bunch of tax, credits the other day, so.
All right, yes, ma'am.
That's why I think a moratorium is really important, and we should still try to do that, because as we have that time, if it's a year, legislation could change, subsidies could change. That would give us time to really get an idea of what's happening. Plus, more towns are stacking up with complaints. Chateaugay has plenty of complaints. I mean, last week I read a whole bunch of new stuff on them online of locals having issues. So as that stacks up, Oklahoma's gonna have to listen to it. People are going to listen to it, papers are going to listen to it. Buy us this year so that we can hear what other people are saying, so we don't become them. Give us a little time so we can make sure these setbacks are better and the noise limitations are better. We deserve this time.
Yes, sir.
Let me make a couple of comments. 6-7 years ago, there's a farm show in Syracuse, and we went down to see the private windmill for a farm. And there was 3 different people selling them, and I went to 2 of the different places, and they had me point on the map where we were located, and said like our wind speed was like 9.2 miles an hour. And they said, we'd love to sell you one, but you only got 2/3 the wind it takes to make it pay for itself. I went across the place and talked to another guy, and they told me the same thing. And earlier this winter, when Jen was here, I asked her what the wind speed was from these test towers, and that was private information. In other words, you only have about 2/3 of the wind you need to make the thing pay for itself. That's why you're going so high. And they don't mind doing this because there's billions of dollars of government subsidy will go to the wind tower people. I called Elise up there, Steinfeld from Washington, about 3 months ago, and asked her about the government subsidies. And they weren't sure, but I got a call from Rick Perry's office an hour later and said government subsidies are all done in 2020, but all they have to do is to get it is to have started construction by 2020. And the other thing, for 2-3 months ago, we board members got a nice white notebook from everybody from the wind people, and there was 50 pages in it, and of those 50 pages, the print in those is so fine you'd have to use a magnifying glass to read it. And I just got new glasses 3 months ago, and I can hardly read this stuff. So if you folks, Dan and the crew, want us to read it, reprint it and give us like 250 or 300 pages. And I'll look at some of it. I can't see any, I can't read any of the stuff you gave us.
The idea sort of was to recognize that it was out there. So you're absolutely right, it was small print, but it was the idea to make sure that you understood the document was available. And it's readily available.
So if you want me to read it, give me big print.
I'll make it.
Or pay one of the straight kids to read it to her.
There you go.
What's the web address? I wanna read it.
Lori?
I'm sorry to, but I do have one question. There was one sentence that was put into the law to protect people, like the 700 people that we've had sign that. And then, for some reason, Roger Linden recommended that it be taken out. And I would like to request his reasoning for that. It was just it just kind of protected this law, that it would be upheld. And it just said this law supersedes all commercial, industrial, and private agreements affecting any aspects of this law, except as specified in this law. To me, that was a good statement. It gave the planning board, it gave them the ability to control what happens in this town. By taking that sentence out, there can be so many side agreements that you are not aware of, that would take away from the setbacks, that would take away from the DBA levels. They have things called good neighbor agreements, they have host community agreements, they have a lot of burden bat studies. Any of those could be constituted as a condition without that sentence in there. And I just really feel that that was important.
I'll try to answer that in a couple of minutes, I gotta find a response from the attorney.
Luke's hand was up first, sorry about your.
Sorry. So as part of that same thing, one thing that we may wanna look at in the future, is correcting a definition for participating property. At this point, there are agreements that are not that do not have to be listed at the county. And they are the burden bat agreements or the good neighbor agreements, which we have been told do not exist yet. But we have a strong suspicion they may. So that would be one definition that we would like cleaned up to state. It's what it says now is, and there's one little error in there too. It says, it's under participating property, and it defines it as a real property in the wind, and overlay is left out of that description for one thing. The wind zone that has a contract with the wind developer or something to that effect. And we would like that to state a turbine or transmission contract. Because these other ones could undermine and subvert our law with its setbacks by changing the definition of what the property lines are, by pushing the property lines out from a turbine property.
I would like to have the website for that book that you have. Could we have that website?
It's just a DPS site.
I just wanted to see which one you're referring to.
It's just the text on Article 10, that's all it is.
Can I just have the website?
I don't know it by heart, but I'll send it to you.
Okay, great. In my mail or
What is that?
in the mail, or how are you gonna send it?
Lucas, I just heard Lucas.
Okay.
Mr. Martin?
Having read this gave me 4 copies of that
There you go. There you
to
go.
be shared.
Oh, great.
So,
Cool.
Yes.
I have a question, doesn't do the law, but just as in part of the process, has the town or either town requested that they be notified from the developer when they notify the FAA for putting up either Met towers or their actual tower, the sites for their towers? Because there's a whole separate permit and different studies that the FAA has to do before they can do it on the FAA website. There is a whole section just on wind turbines. I did not, I was told that there was stuff for Northbridge on there, I couldn't find it myself. So therefore I did not see anything about the Met towers that are currently up, listed on there. And I didn't see, for myself, I was told someone else had found it, but I had not seen it myself of when theirs is there, but I know for other projects that they are working on, they're listed. So I don't know if you're aware of it, that has to go through the FAA. Besides Article 10 stuff, there is a whole separate thing with FAA, and they have to be notified, and it's a whole separate permit.
Did you hear that last time?
Okay. And then also, as far as if they do come and their roads are being closed, at the county meeting, they mentioned that they mentioned something about roads. It was one of the comments or issues they said there. But they went on to say that there's separate county highway or separate highway kind of level permits that are needed for that. And the question was, are the towns aware of those permits that are needed? And the answer was, well, they should be. So I just wanted to, I'm sure you are, but just bring that up that
And
just
we are,
in case.
both
Awesome.
towns have been meeting with the county on a regular basis.
Great, sounds good.
throughout this